Today, I'm joined by Travis Townsend Jr., co-founder and managing partner at Townsend and Lockett. We are diving into how Travis built a big law alternative that strips away the overhead and bloated hourly rates by leveraging technology and elite subject matter experts. We'll also discuss his socialization strategy for marketing and why he believes video is the ultimate salesperson for a modern firm. Travis, welcome to the Growth Switch.
Thanks for having me, Alex. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure to have you. Now, I want to ask you about building a firm that deals with massive international deals while maintaining a very unique identity. Take us to the very beginning. What was the gap in the market that you noticed that led you to idea to create the firm that you have today?
Certainly. So, I mean, there were a lot of gaps, but one was that there was this sort of huge need for sophisticated business, corporate, strategic legal services with respect to smaller firms and growth firms that just was not being serviced. If you're a large corporation, a Fortune 500 international, multinational company, you can hire large law firms who have 1,001 experts who have seen complex transactions in things like intellectual property, strategic combinations, regulatory matters anywhere in the world because you can pay just outrageous high dollar rates. But here, you can't find that type of firm with those type of people who can do those things at a rate that's manageable and or a not just a rate but a pricing structure that's manageable. That in between space is really tough. If you're a smaller business, you say, look, we only need certain level of sophistication, and usually those services come at an affordable rate. But when you're growing and you're not quite over the hump, but you're going there and the things you're doing are larger, you really need somebody that knows how to deal with the top level thing, but can talk to you and work with you kind of both from a financial standpoint. And the other gap is education. I find that a lot of middle market companies, they need a little more hand holding, a little more education, not because they are basic or unintelligent, but because they just haven't had the exposure to the types of things that they're trending toward. So we saw that there was an opportunity to provide affordability for complex legal strategy, business strategy, and legal support, and education, ways to educate CEOs, educate CFOs, COOs in doing complex business legal work.
Of course, practicing law and being a practitioner is quite different in terms of the skill set as to starting the firm and building a practice that fills that need. For you personally, as you started to take action on that vision, what were maybe some of the lessons and maybe you can share a story of the things that you had to learn to build the practice that you have today?
Well, first of all, let me thank you for acknowledging that point. I'm a business lawyer. People come to me to service their legal needs, structure their deals, advise their boards of directors. But because I'm a co-founder of a law firm, I'm an entrepreneur. Just like any other business, brick and mortar or other professional services, I'm a entrepreneur really in a lot of ways first these days because I am not able to sell my services and make money and feed my team, give them their salary and compensation and feed my family without being a good just business person. And I'll tell you, I'm a first generation professional services entrepreneur in my family. I'm the first one to do it. I hadn't seen it before, didn't have a lot of opportunity to ask for counsel from a familial standpoint. And so I had to go find mentors and individuals who had experience successfully building businesses. And one of the biggest challenges and the things that kind of I realize is, it's hard to separate somebody from a dollar or a euro or whatever currency they have. It's very difficult to make somebody say, look, I am willing to give you my hard earned money in exchange for what you believe or what you're positioning to me as a service that will add value. And because of that, I learned that you absolutely always have to add value.
Hmm.
Being in business, people think I'm going to start a machine and I'll get money from people. But the real thing is you need to be able to give value, deliver results, deliver enhancements to your clients' needs, their desires, their objectives, and then in exchange for that value that's clear, it's unambiguous, you will
Mhm.
receive due compensation.
Could you maybe give me two examples? One where you gave a value to somebody that later became your client exactly because you built a relationship starting from the value. And maybe another example when you worked with somebody who did the same, who supported your firm and gave that value, and because of that, you continued the business relationship with them.
Absolutely, I can give you a lot of those. Generally speaking, I have a general sort of Rolodex of people who are in business and they're doing things and they might have a question. It's something that they don't really, it's not warranted, it doesn't warrant like a full on engagement.
Mhm.
They're talking to, I have this, they're talking to a government institution that's considering hiring them. And they don't know how to properly register and or meet all the qualifications. When you apply for a government opportunity, oftentimes there is a supplier qualification dot package, 40 something pages of, do you have this? Did you properly hire people? Do you have proper insurance? Are you set up? Who are your owners, or who, where are they from? For stuff like that, I'll get a call and people, I got a couple of folks that have called me and we talk a few minutes on the phone. I'll tell them to pull up the application and let's go over it. And we just, what they're asking you here is so and so. Do you have this? Pull up the documents. I think you probably already had this. This is what they're looking for specifically when they say, show us, due organization or something like that.
Mhm.
Qualified in their jurisdiction. Do you have a space there? Have you actually properly notified the Department of Revenue in that place, even though you're in Atlanta and Georgia? This is an opportunity in Chicago, Illinois. You have to be set up there. I do that all the time. And we have several clients that after they've gotten the contract and then they needed to kind of scale up or they needed to put contracts in place for subcontractors, we get the call and they become our client. I have a client that we support it like that and they've been our client. It's been 6 years since that kind of first conversation, but we have conversations like that all the time, whether it's licensing, really just how do I structure? I'm being called to be a part of a major real estate development. We get that all the time. They want me to participate in this way, but I don't even know how to. I've never done this. I've never partnered like this. I don't know what I should be asking for. And oftentimes, what we do is we just leverage
Mhm.
servicing those clients from the other side, or prime contractors, or representing the government, and we will walk through and tell the parties, exactly what you should be asking for. This is the minimum percentage you should be getting. These are your outs that market for getting out of the project if it doesn't go well. These are the things that somebody else should be liable for, not you. So we will contextualize their conversations, their negotiations in a space where they've never had any experience or history before. We leverage our
Mhm.
numerous times seeing it and impart that on them immediately. And those people tend to come to us once they actually secure the relationship and they're in it to be their ongoing counsel.
Mhm.
And then for me, also you also asked, when have I done that? So in a lot of ways, marketing, we've had individuals that have, I know I have a lot of people in my network that are marketing experts, from brand management to outbound messaging, cold call sales leads. And I've had folks that just kind of, those people run their own business.
Mhm.
While running their business, they would see things that we might need to do or could do differently to kind of add exposure. And from time to time, we engage those individuals to execute one of their recommendations because it's like, that makes a lot of sense. You're right. They provide us the information of where we fall, where we rank, or where we're not getting exposed, being seen. And because of that, we've engaged folks and supplemented their revenues for a quarter or even a year just by taking on or giving them a project to implement for us.
Certainly. There is a notion that definitely in 2026 and for some time now, the information is free. It's all about the execution. So I'm guessing, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but your advice to somebody who's also thinking about starting their practice is give all the information you can for free, offer that value, and then you will have good clients to choose from when they want to come to you for execution.
Right, because one of the biggest points is, folks need to actually know that you know what you're doing, and there's no better way to kind of make sure that they know that or feel that than just show them. Give them, they'll have more than one project. Sometimes people are too afraid to give free support or advice or counsel because they think that's the only opportunity to make a dollar from delivering
Mm.
value. But we found that one, you want an institutional client or institutional clients, people that are going to have more than one need. The best clients are kind of lifelong, they're ongoing. You get them for 2, 3 years, 10 years ongoing, and they just continue to have things. And so you want to let them know that you're good at what you're doing by showing them with a project. Get your foot in the door, maybe providing some free support or just general counsel on the outside, answer a few questions, solve a problem, show them how you deliver client services. It gives you an opportunity to show them your timeliness, the package in which you deliver your services or your results. And then after that, when they have something that comes up, you're the first person they think of. They remember that experience. They remember that even when you weren't getting paid, you be as professional as possible. I take all of my interactions with a client or with a prospective client, whether they're paying at the time, or if I decide to take on a project for you, whether we've formally engaged or not, we treat it like it's a paid engagement, and we want to
Mm.
get you a result that's going to be the standard that we give all of our clients. And so once they've had that experience, whenever something comes up, you're the person they want to go to. You're the firm, you're the institution that they want to go to. There's an added value to that as well. I've serviced and supported individuals in my network without compensation just to kind of be a good business corporate citizen, and they've never had the opportunity to hire us because my specific or my firm specific need or talents, they just never had the actual final need, but they know people that do, and
Right.
they are referral sources. And in fact, sometimes they feel like I've had people almost tell me, man, I want to do something with you guys. I haven't had the opportunity, but I got some people that they absolutely need you right now. And they feel obligated. I can see the relief or the celebration in their faces when they make a connection that results in business for me. They feel like they paid it forward. They feel good about it because of what they got from me and my team on the front end. So be as good as you can. Don't feel hesitate to provide support and service without always getting compensation. Sometimes the compensation is a referral. It comes in the form of a referral or business later or a much bigger opportunity than the thing that you were supporting them on.
Certainly, I think it's a wonderful message, and not just in legal sector, in many industries, business owners and just subject matter experts should execute that as much as possible because it's a great feeling when somebody makes a referral and you see that they're happy that they had an opportunity. But as a growing firm, of course, you still have a limited time. Can you describe maybe the first situation that happened when you had somebody come with a question and for whatever reason you actually had to turn them away because it wasn't quite a good fit or there was something else where you started being more selective about who you can afford, even for free, to help and not?
Yeah, so I'll start with this kind of two pieces. There's the general, hey, this just doesn't fit us from a standpoint of it's not what we do, or you're not in the kind of space
Mm.
where it's going to make sense for you. And one of the places I start is if it's not a talent or a specific skill or need that we have the best result of the people who can perform at the highest level for, the way we've stayed in business and grown is that we do what we can do excellently. If we would be hacking away at it and barely good at it, and there are a million people who eat, sleep, and drink it, we will refer you to those people. So
Mm.
whenever you come in, if we assess that what you actually need is somewhat outside of our superpower, we will go to our Rolodex, our database, and we will say, these are some people we're not quite the fit for you. What you need based on what you told us your situation is you need this type of service and this type of person at this type of size. And here's a couple recommendations. So generally speaking, I don't believe in doing things that we can't hit a home run for you. I just want you to win. When you come to us, I want you to leave knowing
Mm.
that you got the best result. But then there's the individuals that we could probably get an amazing result, maybe, but honestly, the time it would take and the amount of sort of resources, time and resource and the resource level from a dollar standpoint that we would have to apply to it would outpace what their budget is. And there's just no getting around where if you can do that from time to time, but from a business model standpoint, there is a limit to how much of that where you are giving more value than you actually are receiving in compensation, because you have to have enough revenue to roll around and pay your expenses, to pay for your talent. And so you have to strike a good balance. And from time to time, we will see individuals who say, this is what I need. We could help them, but what we would end up having to charge them to solve the problem, we would win more than they would win. And that's the other sort of principle that I have. It's like if you have a $150,000 thing at issue, but we know that it's gonna probably cost you $80,000 to $95,000 from us to obtain it. Plus, we know how long it's going to take. It's going to take certain time from you. And a lot of times people don't think about, they think about the cost they got to spend on the third party, the lawyer. But then they have to be involved. Like, I need information from you. I have to have meetings from you. I need you to go gather and organize things. So there's a certain amount of your time that you have to devote. And when you're doing that, that's time you're not devoting to making money in another activity. You have a business. Business is all time is fungible. Time spent doing one thing is time not spent doing something else that might make you money. So we will make a calculus and say, all in all, you're going to spend more money both in paying us and the time you take away from making money from your standard practice to deal with this legal issue. So we recommend you either don't even pursue this, or you pursue this but at a lower risk level. You engage somebody at a tier that's a little bit more aligned with making the risk make sense. And we do that from time to time. I tell my clients or prospects in that regard, hey, if I'm going to win more than you, then we don't want the file. We don't want the matter. I just don't like cases and that's actually also one of the reasons why, some folks, they don't love lawyers. They think that you just send them bills and, it's every day you're sending me bills, nothing's happening. You're not getting the result I want. Because there are a lot of lawyers that are a little bit, they're not as scrupulous as they should. They just want to pay the bills, keep the lights on, and they take files knowing they can charge and drain out the customer, the client, even though in the end the client's stuck like this thing is over and this is all we got. I don't feel like we got, we paid you a lot of money, we didn't get it. I don't believe in that. Our firm's policy is we don't contribute to that type of feeling with respect to people in the legal industry. We're going to contribute to that part of folks that realize you use lawyers, you leverage lawyers, gets you way more than what you put in. And so we tell people from time to time, we're going to win on this and you aren't. And so because of that, we can't take you on.
I think this is something probably comes from a lot of experience, and marketing industry is certainly the same way. There are a lot of burned bridges because somebody was eager to just keep the lights on and take, an engagement that wouldn't necessarily work out well for all parties involved, and it would have been better not to do that. From leadership perspective, did you have at some point a difficult conversation when somebody on your team really wanted to help somebody, but you, from your experience, just saw that it would not work out and you had to convince them that, unfortunately, that's just not the right fit?
I had a little smirk because that's what I've been talking. My team members are probably, if they were around, they'd jump in the camera and tell you, absolutely, yes. I am sort of the keeper because I am also the financial partner at the firm. And I am one of the people, sort of the last stop on, can we do this from a business standpoint? And I tell team members all the time, I'm fair. We have to go through a process and actually assess, can we afford to do this? Can you, from your actual, you have metrics that you have to hit, and you start there, individually. I have to focus on your success. So if this is going to take more time away from you than what will allow you to still hit your targets, your actual metrics, because, full circle, we're going to have a conversation about your performance, and saying that I took on this case or that matter or that deal at suppressed rates or for free or whatever is not going to help you when it comes to, but here's your performance standards and you are below those. And so if you want to have that conversation, if you're willing to stand on that, then that's a personal choice that, we can talk about it. But
Hmm.
besides that, if everybody in here said we want to do all of this stuff either for free or at suppressed rates, are you willing to suppress your compensation? Are you willing to suppress? What are you willing to sacrifice? It's not that it's not that simple to just say, oh, let's do it. Everything ties to everything. What we make allows us to compensate what we compensate. Allows us to pay for the space that you want. You want support in marketing. You want to go to a conference that costs X dollars. All of that has to come in. So and you are not, you are not an isolated situation in that I have to have this conversation with you and everybody on the team when they have. And if I allow everybody to do this, the overall performance of the firm is not optimal. And while you're thinking about your particular request, imagine if I sit here and I take 10 requests and I grant all of them.
Hmm.
Everybody suffers. And so my job is to make sure that the firm is healthy enough to continue to be in existence, to continue to meet all of everybody's compensation expectations. You're going to expect a raise or a bonus, and so I always am tracking how we're performing vis-a-vis that. And so sometimes we might have some cushion, depending on if the quarter's doing exceptionally well with a projection of doing exceptionally well. You it's like anything, you be more generous in the great times, and you're a bit tighter in the tighter times. And so, depending on how we're tracking, we may or may not be able to allow certain accommodations. But really, yes, I have to say no all the time about taking certain things. But I look forward to and I work to try to find opportunities to say yes. It's to me, it's not an emotional situation. It is a business owner. I have to do what's going to be the most healthy for the overall institution, because in the end, if we end up shutting down next year, these people won't be able to get any help. And then all the other people who needed us won't be able to get any help at all. So you have to sometimes say no to a handful so that you can say yes to the many.
Absolutely. Now, because of the niche that you went into competing with the bigger firms but having different structure, when you're having those difficult conversations and making the decisions, and as a financial partner as well, who do you model when you set up the benchmarks? Whether it is, KPI for your colleagues, whether it's targets for the firm, how do you model that?
Yeah. So that is a great question, because you seem to be capturing. You're very in tune to. We have to balance modeling our size, modeling our size, but the fact that we're at a sophistication level that is well beyond our size. We punch above our weight. And so, truthfully, it's a hybrid. There are
Hmm.
certain things that we make the metrics, they're completely on par with larger firms. That comes from, so you start with the quality, the expectation on how you perform and how you actually deliver things, and the timing, responsiveness, the quality of the documentation, deliverables. That's always comparable to large law firms. That is who we compete. We have clients we're opposed to, they have, and then with respect to trying to get those clients, those are our clients, the same clients that the larger law firms have. So our quality as far as delivering the service, the responsiveness, the pleasantries, the visibility, the transparency has to be at the same level of the biggest law firms. There's no compromise on that. We have some leeway with respect to billable hours requirements and actual time in, where you work, hybrid, and all of that. That's more probably comparable to middle market law firms and middle market consulting companies, things like that, because those are all professional services companies where folks who choose to kind of be at a firm our size, they have a certain thought about what their lifestyle is going to be. And so we know that we have to kind of meet that need or that desire from folks who've elected to come work with us. They have a certain thought about how their day to day is going to be. So it goes back and forth. And then because of that, because we have to meet the high standard of timeliness, responsiveness, deliver at the drop of a dime. But we have folks that are saying, look, I don't want to do 2,800 hours. Then we have to manage the number of clients that we want to take on and the type of clients or type of time Different times of the year, we might take different things. So we are very dynamic, and we're always thinking about how our client service and our standard of client service is going to impact our team in any given quarter, any month, quarter. And so we will actually manage the number of matters we take, who we take them from, depending on the impact it's going to have on our standard of sort of environment and culture at the firm.
That's interesting. What does technology, and of course everybody is talking about AI and new tools like this. How does that change the calculus of what you just spoke about, whether it's lifestyle, whether you can use the technology to improve the quality of life or make everybody more efficient, and also in a bigger sense, will more firm take your example as well and start something that's more boutique but competes with a big law firm because the technology enables that? What's your take on that?
Yeah, so we've been in business for this is our 17th year, and the way we've been able to do this is we've always embraced technology. One of the thoughts when we got out was that the only way we're going to be able to build this and compete the way that we compete is if we leverage technology in ways that large law firms just cannot, or are afraid to.
Hmm.
They have several limitations. Almost everybody's afraid of new technology. I don't know, it's scary. Um, and then institutions that are doing well, that have been doing well the longest, seem to be more afraid of change because change is different from what they are, and so therefore it naturally is scary. But then they just have a lot of red tape. But we knew, it's got to go through. It's impossible to roll out new software in a large law firm, or a new device, or a new change any policy, because it's got to go through 30 different committees. It's got to be tried out forever. By the time it's got to go through the management committee. Then it's got to be implemented, and the size of implementation is so broad that by the time they finally roll it out, it's a whole new technology that's already put that one to bed. Right. So we knew that, and we've been able to jump out there, and our general commitment is to fight against taking forever to roll out new technology. You want to be careful. We check everything. We have a great strategy for quality control and making sure things are working properly, and protect our clients and things like that. But it is part of our fiber to see new technology and roll it out. And definitely, you hit the nail on the head with, if it is something that is going to improve the quality of life of our team members. Mm-hmm. So there's two things that they make it where we basically say the answer, whether or not we're going to use this technology or implement it, the answer is absolutely yes. If it's going to make our team's lives better, both in freeing their time up, reducing the stress, making them actually more confident in the solutions they deliver. And then then the next part is, and will this make our clients better? Will it give our clients a better result, a better client service experience? If it is going to do those things, whatever negatives, downfalls, or issues, our goal is 100% focused on reducing all risks, minimizing those things, but we have to implement it because it's something that's going to benefit all the people who are important to our ecosystem, our clients and our people. And so because of that, when things come out, we get it in there. So with artificial intelligence, of course, I think that it's rapidly evolving. And the good news is it is rapidly evolving. Like, there were things, I think, in the last 6 months that people were completely afraid of, that the problem that it's been solved. AI is solving its own weaknesses. People are leveraging AI to solve its own weaknesses. And so, the versions of Gemini and ChatGPT and Claude and all these things that people are using today are miles apart from from December 2025, light years ahead. And so we're embracing it. We have trainings honestly, in our practice group meetings, we have trainings on baseline items and tools that you can use, prompts, safety measures, protections regularly. When we meet as groups and as the entire firm, we incorporate some sort of education, elevation, implementation of AI and the different ways you can use it, so that it's really not like, okay, we're going to just incorporate this thing. Here's a big train. It is part of our lives. It is, we talk about it. It's just infused in what we do, because that is what I believe artificial intelligence really is. Its biggest advantage is that it's not that it's going to be, oh, it's going to take away cars or drivers. It's going to take away, it is, no, it's going to be what you use every day. Kind of like your cell phone and it is just going to be in everything we do. It's going to be in your refrigerator. It's going to be in recording these podcasts and solving them and cleaning them. It's going to be in document drafting. It's going to be in ordering pizza. Everything you do is going to be in that. And so we talk about it like that. It's just a normal part of life. And through that, it gets rolled out. People get trained on it. They get comfortable with it. And it's consistent with our policy of always being ahead of the curve on implementing and executing and utilizing technology.
I think it's a wonderful practice, and it's certainly a superpower of a more boutique firm because you have that flexibility to teach people, to train them, to adopt it quickly. But at the same time, for some firms, I know it will be a concern. What if we get it wrong? What if a mistake happens? To address that, do you maybe have an example of when you started adopting the technology and it just hasn't worked out? And in a short span of time, you've seen that actually maybe it doesn't make us more efficient, or it's not quite doing what it's supposed to. It might improve in the future because, like you said, it's changing and improving very quickly. But at the time, we actually need to step back because it hasn't worked out. Could you give an example of basically that experiment that you were able to walk back and nothing bad happened in the long run?
Yeah, I mean, so because of our approach, hey, we're going to take a project management tool utilization. So law firms generally kind of use, the larger ones, spreadsheets to track progress on a deal or on a case or something. Some people use written files. We started with saying, look, we'll use some of these project management applications, technology. You got the Jiras, the Asanas, all those different companies, and we'll use these to be more efficient. And so everybody's got to adopt it. Everybody's got to put it on. You found that the features, while they were there, they weren't quite ready for law practice management. They're great for consulting and some other spaces, but law practice management tracking, they didn't have all there were nuanced things that we need in what we do. And so you had this stuff, we were trying to shoehorn things or recode certain things to be aligned with legal principles or concepts, and it just wasn't working. And so we weren't getting the progress on those things. We're spending more time trying to make it work than it working, and we were losing time that we weren't losing when we weren't using it at all, right? We were just getting right to it. And so with that, you got to realize and say, this is not working. We're not doing it anymore. So you get together with leadership and say, this is what we're getting feedback. These are, we've identified these are the barriers. These barriers not necessarily, can't necessarily be overcome because there's a deficiency in the technology with respect to what we do. All the things that we use are fantastic products. I think we spend a lot of energy sourcing and vetting the actual performance quality of certain things in and of themselves, but not everything fits because we've tried to leverage things and bring it to a field that it's not necessarily primarily made for. And so, but you just have to call it. You have to be comfortable with saying, hey man, it was a good try. And the sooner you do that, and the sooner everybody accepts it, the sooner you can try the next thing. But I kind of want to make a point though about what happens when it doesn't go right. A lot of things don't go right when you're running a business. A lot of things don't go right, not just for small businesses, startup businesses. I always tell people oh, I have to hire a large firm, man, because if things go wrong, I can say I hired the most expensive, biggest firm in the world. It's like the most expensive biggest firms in the world are the ones that are always in the malpractice lawsuits. You pick up a malpractice lawsuit, it's going to be your name brand firms. It's like we don't have any. And my point being is that business, there's going to be mistakes. There are going to be errors. There are going to be decisions that are made that don't work. And it doesn't matter what business it is. I think the biggest mistake is letting a fear of making a mistake ever keep you from trying and doing things that might accelerate you in a way that you would never be able to move, pace or speed, or help you get to a place as higher than you would ever be able to achieve. because you're worried about making a mistake. You have to think about mistakes. You have to try to avoid them. You take them serious, possible risks. You take them extraordinarily serious. And this is coming from a lawyer because we get paid to be risk averse. But also,
Right.
this is the entrepreneur hat that I wear. We embrace the fact that we're gonna make some mistakes. Some of the stuff we try is not gonna work. But you know what? We're not worse off, and we're no different. There are a lot of things that are tried from the biggest brands ever, and they make them, they fix them, they make the mistake, they acknowledge them, and they roll out the fix and they keep it moving. And that's our approach.
I think that's super reasonable. And one of the, in my personal view, mistake that I see smaller firms do is their pricing. They get into trying to be the cheapest in the industry, or they get into the mistake of being afraid to review their prices to update it. And I want to come back to something that you said before, is that it's good to have big institutional clients because it's a bigger engagements. They keep coming back. It's good for building that book of business for a firm. What was your learning and what your take on how to price your services so that you are paid what your advice is worth and you are not limiting your growth by pricing your services incorrectly?
Yeah. So when you asked earlier, you said, what benchmarks? First, you should have benchmarks and you should know what's going on in the industry, right? So the first thing we do is we get intel. We want to know what anybody, if we're doing the same thing, we want to know what you're paying other people that are doing the same thing. Not whether they're, so if they're larger than us, we want to know. If so, we do our research. We get from sources. We talk to people directly in the game that are charging people for the same service. Sometimes we'll talk to people who are opposite a case or a deal and find out, hey, what did you charge? We get information, real data to know what people are charging. So we need to know what we should be getting paid. And then we also know that there are people that are a little bit smaller, and price ranges kind of flex from the size of the institution. And to your point, then we say, but regardless of our size, we're doing the same thing. And so we're not competing on price per se. We don't say, look, we're cheaper. What we say is it's going to cost you less because we are not going to put as much waste into your activity. So it's going to be the same value. Our rates are not basement cheap. Our rates, they're going to, if you came to me thinking, I went to this big law firm and I didn't like their rates, so I'm coming to you because I expect your rates to be lower. It's not that our rates are going to be some sort of discount thing, because I don't care if I've been doing this for 23 years and you hiring somebody they're in a different system and they've been doing it for 20 years, and they're not charging more than me because they're not better at it. They don't have more experience and beyond. Even if it's the same amount of years, I'm very good at this. You know why I know I'm good at this? Because I compete with larger firms with less resources than them, and I beat them at their own game. So I have to be better than them. And so because of that, I'm not going to charge less than what I'm worth. But at the same time, you're going to end up paying less because I don't throw 10 people on a deal that only requires 4 or 5. And I don't tell people to bill hours just to read the paper 30 different times so that I can run up the rates and run up the
Right.
amount of fees I'm charging. You're going to get what it takes to get the job done at an exceptionally extraordinary quality. And that's it only. You're not going to get any padded charging times, fees, and things like that. So when you get my bill for the same thing, it's going to be lower, but not because we're cheaper, if that makes sense.
100%. I think part of that is educating the client so that they can know that you've done cases, you've competed and against bigger firms and you won with less resources. So I think that comes back to having that, visibility. But also, I think for a lot of smaller firms, part of the fear why they get in trying to be cheaper is because they have scarcity of new cases coming in. A lot of firms are relying purely on referrals, so they have to make whatever cases come in their way work. And we spoke before about turning down work that is not a good fit. And I'm curious, what are other things that you've done in terms of communicating your style of work and your innovation, your leadership, to have that business development edge, to have that marketing that generates more interested conversation that are coming your way?
Yeah. So one, I appreciate you inviting me on this because this allows me to communicate how we do things. People get to know me personally, know how our firm operates a little bit. So things like this tells people it communicates who we are without me having to have 1,000 meetings. However many people this reaches is going to be telling the same story and communicating who we are. So you talk about educating the client, this is a great way to do it. And obviously when you have one-on-one meetings or group meetings with particular clients, you sit down and you tell them what your value proposition is, how you actually approach things, and how you get the results that they need at a reasonable market value. Now, with respect to making sure that it is a sort of chicken and egg question. I got to have cases, I got to have deals to make money, and I don't have anything coming through the door. So I just got to take whatever I can. I got to do whatever I can, reduce my price to undercut to get people in. Um, you have to be wary of that, because no matter what, if you have a bunch of cases or a bunch of deals, a bunch of matters that are being priced under what you are worth and what your team is worth, you will eventually go down to zero. You will not have enough substance by way of revenue to feed yourself and your people. So it's just a capital dollars and cents situation. In the moment, you can't appreciate that, but if you do it long enough, you will just see it. You'll see it. We're working really hard. Everybody's tired. They're exhausted. But the money that's coming in just doesn't compensate people, and you will lose people. You will lose your business, your operation. And so you have to charge at a bare minimum sufficient to reward people in a way that will entice them to remain with you and or attract new talent. That just, it dictates itself. But then from a conscious standpoint, I think that sometimes you have to realize that whenever you're working, and I alluded to this earlier, whenever you're working on something, you're not working on something else. And right. If you're busy, if your palette is full of underpaid, undercompensated matters, while you're working those, you don't have a chance to market or pitch to people who will pay you at full freight because you're busy working for less. So it actually is a better investment in your time if you think about your time, period, whether it's business spent on business development, actually servicing a client, developing team members. I look at all of my time and the value of it just, at my hourly rate, period. So if I'm spending time here, I'm not spending it making money, or I'm spending it if I had to train somebody or pay somebody to train people versus me training people. So I think about all of my time spent. And so if I forego a matter that's going to take me a month to do and it'll pay me $50,000, and it takes all my time to do it, but I forego that because it's going to leave me 20 hours to go find a matter that'll pay me $300,000. I would rather forego that $50,000 matter and spend the time. I'm not making money. I'm talking to people. I'm calling people. I'm following up. I'm delivering. They've requested materials because they like me, but they need to know more. I'm not on the clock though. I'm not doing anything that actually is billable. I put me versus me, who I think will win the race. So if it's the me that's taking on the matter that's going to spend all my time to make $50,000 in 30 days versus me who's saying I'm not doing any of that because I need 20 hours to go find the $300,000. I'm betting on the me who's spending the time looking for the thing that's going to give me the more return on my investment.
With that in mind, Travis, what has been so far your best investment in marketing in terms of the time you saved and just the output that it produced for you and the firm?
I think, there are a lot of things, but I think video is just valuable because you can have a setting, one full day, and bank a lot of material to put in a can or, put in a can and roll it out over time. I think video is just a great way to scale yourself. You can write articles and, you can show up and have conversations. But when you create video, it gives people an animated version of you, the real you. And you're able to articulate specifically how you see things, what your philosophy is, how to service people. And then it lives forever. And it has no limitation on how far it can reach. We're having a conversation. You have an international conversation because video will bring people to you. And so I think the time it takes to prepare your remarks and socialize what you want to communicate and get a good video, a good camera, get good audio, get it recorded, have a good conversation, and package it and publish it is just time, money well spent. It goes a long way. We get a lot of matters. Even there are people tell you, saw your video and said, man, I need to call you for this. But then you really don't appreciate that the videos replicate you. A lot of times people hire me because they had a couple of conversations with me. They met me here, they saw me there. And after they see me several times in person, they are so familiar with me. They feel like they know me better than they know people that they haven't seen a lot. And video allows people to get comfortable with you so that, and it could be strangers. People don't know you at all, never met in person. But then when they finally get a call from you or somebody tells them to call you about something, they already know you. They feel like they already know you. They're already comfortable. So it shortens the sales cycle, shortens the cycle in which the time it takes to engender and build a level of comfort and trust because you built that through your videos. And so the conversations that you have, the time to close an opportunity is shortened.
It certainly makes for a different conversation when somebody engaged with that material and they feel familiar, they had their question answered, and when they come, they want to work specifically with you, not just anybody, because that's been built. Travis, you mentioned working with different experts on different aspects of marketing. With your experience, obviously being very involved in that, what does a good marketing partner for a law firm looks like in 2026?
Yeah, I think a good marketing partner in 2026 definitely has to have their arms around new technology. They have to be ahead of the curve. They can't be using old techniques. They have to be using the techniques of today and reading on what's coming out. The other thing they have to actually understand that this isn't selling a product. You can sell a widget, you can sell a brand of potato chip or a type of food or a type of car. People are generally comfortable and used to buying cars or buying potato chips or buying those type of products. Very rarely do people have to engage in the type of services that we sell. Sometimes it's their first time, or they. The other side is true. They are experts, and that's all they do. And so you're competing with individuals who know what they want. They've done it. They've been the person selling. Often in-house counsel used to be in private practice. They've gone in-house, so they know what to look for. So a media partner, a marketing partner needs to understand that dynamic, the uniqueness of selling professional legal services. They need to understand what the sales cycle is like, that it's very relationship based, that it is highly based on trust. I mean, trust is general in marketing, but it is elevated to an extended level that you're competing as shark infested waters, competing to try to get people to go. Because the best client for a person like me in my business is a party that already has a partner. They already have a law firm. I say it all the time, it's easy to try to sell, easier to sell a product for somebody who's looking for a product and they don't have one yet. But right. It's different to try to separate somebody from a partner that they already have, that they've been using for a long time, and helping them understand that, yes, you've been doing things, you've had a lot of success there, but I know because you're so comfortable, you probably haven't taken a look that there's actually better options out there. So a media partner, marketing partner has to figure that out. How do you do that? How do you break into that for your law firm client?
Certainly. Travis, where can people find you online if they're interested in your work and want to learn more about your firm?
Yeah, if you want to find us in my law firm, it's townsendlockett.com, just like the last name Townsend, and then Lockett is like your favorite charm, Lockett.com. We'll pull us right up. You can take a look at all of our attorneys, kind of our history, our background. That's a great way to find us. Me, I'm on LinkedIn, so just search LinkedIn for Travis Townsend. You'll find me. Atlanta, wherever you are in the world, if you put Atlanta, Georgia, U.S., you'll find me. And those are great ways. And really, one of the great things, Google or use AI to search for us, and we'll pop up. Reach out, email, and we respond promptly.
Travis, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you for coming.
No, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thanks.